So, with a lot of people asking where Melissa's Z32 has been, and every single post being online ending with a comment of saying, "Where's your Z32? When are we gonna see your Z? We miss your Z32 so much." We figured we'd just bring you up to speed on where it's been.
Make a video and lay it all out there.
Right over there.
It's on the other side of this Z32. It runs. But I figured I'd catch everybody up and let you know kind of the story of how it started. So it started when I was drifting at Irwindale. I was drifting the low bank and all the oil sloshed to one side, and there went that motor. After Irwindale and the motor blew, I had to get it put back together really quick, had to find a new engine, had to get it in, had to get it running really well to compete in a TV show for Speed Channel that a bunch of the local drifters were driving in and competing against each other, and it was like an obstacle course basically for cars. We did the event, I hit a brick wall and all the bricks came down, and it took a chunk out of my oil pump, which over time, not very long, a few hundred miles, chewed through my timing belt. And we were in Arizona the following week for a drift event, and the timing belt just shredded, and the piston smushed the spark plug. So now we're stuck in Arizona. We stayed out there for about 3 months, tried to find an engine. I called everywhere. I even tried to get a 2J, an RB, another VG. I was asking everybody in the Phoenix area for whatever they had, and if they didn't think I was crazy, they just didn't have one. So then called Z1.
Z1 was nice enough to mail us out a motor. They had it there in the same week. Amazing service, thank you, Spencer. Got the motor in, installed it in Arizona, got it running.
Drove it back to San Diego. We were out there for about 3 months because we were in no hurry to get back. So 3 months later, when we make it back from Arizona, we're back in San Diego, and I'm on my way to work, or on my way home from work, and one of the Godspeed turbos blew, because I was still running the Godspeed turbos at that point. And started billowing smoke, get it towed back to the house, and I had this brilliant idea of building an engine. Since the engine had to come out anyway to swap the turbos, why not just do an engine build?
At that point, she was approached by somebody to build her an engine. So we decided, all right, cool. A built motor sounds a lot better than replacing it every couple of months from being a stock block. So we figured this time we're gonna do it right. We're gonna build it completely from the ground up. So we reached out to a couple people and got all the supporting parts that we need. Z1 Motorsports came out and did the turbos, a lot of add-on supportive parts, Mishimoto with the radiator.
Courtesy parts with all the factory stuff, new coil packs, spark plugs, all the factory kind of.
All the gaskets,
yeah,
everything that
timing.
you need. And we shipped that block out.
So about 8 months later, the engine came back on a beautiful crate. And we installed it. I held a flashlight and Chris put it in, and we did all the break-in time for the oil, the drains, the refills, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, and then it was good enough to go to a well-known shop in Southern California for tuning. I drove it up there. Alternator was bad, so I was just buying batteries on my way up. Made it up there, and they changed the alternator, buttoned up a few things, and we figured it was about ready for tuning. So it was up there for 2 days. The first day was all the buttoning up, and the second day was the tuning, and it had the potential of being a monster. So the car made it to one drift event, running pretty well, and then we started a journey over to Z Nationals in Georgia from San Diego. And that's, a lot of you saw the photo of the Z pulling the little mini trailer. That was the same, right?
Yep.
And we started that cross-country journey.
We made it as far as Birmingham,
Alabama.
pretty much, before we started seeing any signs of this car showing
Weakness.
Yeah. So we're driving through Birmingham, Alabama, and we started to get hotter and hotter temps, and we pull over and we let the car cool down. Everything looked fine engine-wise, but we'd notice that we'd start losing coolant, and we were just losing coolant, and losing coolant. We had no idea where it was going. There was no signs of a leak anywhere. And we just barely made it to Z1 Motorsports.
I babied the car back from Georgia after the event and made it to my mom's exit in Tucson before the car was billowing white smoke. And that was the last oomph that it had. So it didn't matter how much coolant, water, whatever we put in there, it was billowing white smoke, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So finally got an auto transport company that I had been working with before to transport it from Tucson back to San Diego so we can take a look at it. And that was the end of that trip.
Immediately pulled the motor up when we got back to San Diego and sent it back to the builder. A couple months later, we received a message that motor was in fact fine, nothing was wrong with it, and it was sent right back to us. So 500 miles, put on this motor before it starts pluming out white smoke. Same thing. Send it back to the builder. The builder says, nope, it's fine. It's got to be your tuner. All right, cool. Get the motor back, and again, same issue. This time...
Tuner says it's fine.
Yep, tuner says it's fine. We decided that it'd be best to just send the entire car this time.
We were like, F it. The car, engine, everything.
Yep.
Ship to Texas.
We're
done.
Ship the car to Texas. Bam.
Make
there we
it
go.
work.
Make it work. Make it work. Money. Do the money with me. Pause, baby. Click. Do the money with me. Money. Yeah. So a couple months later, we have word that the engine is back in. It's now with a new tuner, but he's having issues as well. Car is untunable. We're not getting any numbers back. We're not getting any word back of the car running.
While the car was over there, we got wind that just nothing was happening. It wasn't starting. It wasn't responsive. And the tuner wanted to put in a Haltech rather than the AEM Series 2 that I had. The Haltech started it right up, no problem. And then he did a little street tune. We were out there making a little trip on the way to Z-Days, and I wanted to see the condition because at this point now, 2 years had gone by, and the car wasn't done. There was no updates on it. It was just there. So we wanted to check it out.
So we dropped in, didn't give a heads up, just swung on by because we knew where the shop was.
And I didn't want anybody to know that I was coming because I wanted to see what kind of condition that the car was in. So the condition that it was in when we got there was that it had been tucked in a corner. Outside.
No hood.
Tall grass had started growing up to here on it, and there was a hood from another Z32 that was resting on the back end of the car, and it was heartbreaking.
So we pulled the car out, and we were told that it wasn't tunable yet because they had a timing belt slip when they put it on the dyno. And the reason that we were given was that oil was leaking out of the cam seals and getting onto the timing belt and causing that to slip. So without even questioning it, we ran down to Courtesy, picked up a brand new timing belt, new cam seals, knew everything that we need, went back up to the shop, knocked it all out the same day, said, cool, we're off to Z-Days, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Got back from Z-Days and still had no word of what was going on with the car. It still wasn't tuned, still didn't hear anything of it. And we just proceeded to check in with the tuner. Said, do you guys have any info for us? Have you guys had any time to tune it? Have you guys had a base map? What's going on? And that happened for a couple more months. Finally, Melissa had it, said, no, all right, we're done. We're gonna have somebody else tune the car. By that time, we gotten in contact with somebody from Haltech that wanted to tune it. Very, very reputable tuner. And said, no problem, I can tune it for you guys, absolutely. Just get me the car. So we pulled the car from Texas, got it shipped back to San Diego. And before having another tuner look at it, I decided to go through the car one more time. That's where we found 4 out of the 6 spark plugs were completely different. All the coil packs that were brand new provided by Nissan had been changed out, were different. The solid Z1 shotgun motor mounts were changed out for stock stuff. The loomed mil-spec harness that I had put in was gone and replaced with a old one. Just little weird things.
And it was really discouraging. So we moved to Texas.
And getting the Z32 off the transport truck, it plumed white smoke. Worse than we've seen any other time. So we were kind enough to get loaned a lift, did a motor pull on the lift, got the motor out, broke it down same day, looked at the heads, everything was square, everything was fine, nothing was warped, same thing with the block, everything looked great, put new head gaskets on, like we were advised to do, put the motor back in the car, and with the first turnkey plumed the exact same white smoke. At this point, we pretty much knew that that motor had been toast.
Well,
whatever had been letting the smoke go, let it go this time.
first we thought it was the turbos, and there was the Garrett turbos from Z1, so I sent the turbos out to look just to see if there was anything wrong with them, and then sent those to Arizona from the people that do Garrett's turbos, like rebuild them, that I met at SEMA, and those turbos were fine, got mailed back, and they were surprised, so we just came to the conclusion that the engine was done.
So what I did was, instead of bolting the turbo up to the manifold and having the coolant line run through the turbo, what I did was I took a piece of silicone hose and I went around where the turbo would be. Pressure tested the system, and it poured coolant out of bank 1 manifold. So after much begging and pleading of getting that car back on the road in a stock block form, that's the route we did.
So I put a post on Facebook asking if anyone had a VG30 GETT motor, and John Rook with SPN said he had one just hanging out in the garage, and it was out like 2 days later, shipped to us in Texas.
Thank you, John.
And the car's been running right ever since. We just put the Garrett turbos on, all the bolt-ons, and it runs fine now. We just have to button everything up just a little bit, put some sensors on that I've been procrastinating, or Chris has been procrastinating, and just get the final tune. But it runs, it drives. I've driven it, I don't know, probably 50 or 60 miles so far, and so far so good, but I don't want to put too many miles before we have everything that we need on it. So everything's good now. And acquired another one. Actually, another 3.
You guys want to hear it run? I do.
And that's it. So now it's question and answer time. I'm going on Facebook at the post that I made, and I'm going to answer pretty much all these questions. Jeff Kitchell says, are you still in love with the Z32? Yes, I still love the Z32. That I ended up getting another one. Alex, can I buy it for $2? No. Daniel, engine goes south on you. Yes. So as you heard in the previous, that's everything that happened. Jenny Lynn Clark, the only thing I ask is for you to do a memorial shout out to Kyle Maroney. And here it is, Kyle Maroney, we miss you. Justin Bragg, can we tandem one day? Well, usually is pretty nice. We should tandem someday. Francios, need to tandem with you. Agreed, your car is the right amount of beat to look good tandeming. So I think we should get together with Justin and tandem together. Martine, why don't you drive it even for like a fun weekend drive on back roads? Well, we need to tune it first and get those sensors. Also, why haven't you let me drive it? You wouldn't fit in the seat, sorry. Tony, what happened and can we blame it on AMS? Well, I just explained what happened, and unfortunately, no, I cannot blame anything on AMS because I didn't have any of their parts. Joe Adams, am I as cool as you yet? But yes, you are as cool as me. Martin Cromwell, when do I get to drive it? I'm in the same state. Let's make smoke and do some skids. Agreed. Ben, will the Z32 become the primary drift car again? No. I'll more than likely just road race it and make it look really cool. But I will more than likely maintain drifting the 350Z. It's just so easy. Lou? Right back at you. Adam Clater, why did you feel comfortable enough to put your finger up Bernie Bilski's nose but not let him work on your car and follow his advice? Well, if I left my car with Bernie, I don't think I would get it back for a couple of years. So I've already had 6 or 7 years invested of this car being down. I don't want to make it a decade. Matthew Pingle, after the build followed repeated downtime, what was the cause of this and was it ever addressed correctly? The cause of it ended up being the engine. We got it addressed by just swapping another non-built engine in there and it runs fine. Charles Beeson, who built the engine last? So it was Mitch at EP Racing who had built that last engine. And although that he has other engines that have ran fine, unfortunately mine didn't. James Vick, what were your build goals? Like 500 or 600 horsepower and make it reliable? Who planned the build out? At the time it was Mitch at EP Racing. We talked about the numbers that we were looking at. He wanted to build a really good efficient motor, and as far as compression ratio, which you asked, I didn't even bother to pay attention to that. Just because as long as it drove fine, it was reliable for events. I mean, and I had good parts in it. I guess I just left all of that up to the engine builder. Theron, what's the target rear wheel horsepower on this build? So the new build, we're aiming for about 500 reliable, but we'll see what it makes. How much of it did Chris do? Chris did most of it. He had a couple helpers from the shop, and they've helped put it together. I guess he did most of it. Did you figure out the fuel pressure setting for the Haltech? Yes, we figured it out. We just haven't done it yet. So that's it. That's the video. Now you all know. I will have more stuff going on now with the Z. Well, with one of the Zs at a time, and I'll post some videos of drift events and the new build and what we're doing next. So stay tuned.